I say the words dialysis patient? Is it one of a frail, sick, bedridden individual? I'm going to try and change that image in the next 18 minutes. I was at Tashkent, the capital of Uzbekistan, last month. I had gone there for the formal inauguration of the world's largest dialysis center. The center was built and was being operated by NephroPlus, which is Asia's largest dialysis service provider, a company that I co-founded along with Vikram Vuppala, a healthcare strategy consultant. After the inauguration, I went and met some patients to get some feedback, and there was genuine gratitude and appreciation in their voice for the quality of dialysis they got in our center. They felt much better, they said, their energy levels were better, the color of their skin started returning. It was heartening to hear that feedback because I had been through a similar journey in my life a few years back. It was July 1997. I had just finished my chemical engineering with a gold medal. I got admission for my master's in the US, got my US visa as well, when I was about to fly out in a couple of weeks. I took some vaccines that was a prerequisite for foreign travel for students in those days. That evening, I developed some symptoms like nausea, vomiting, a fever, but the symptoms didn't subside even after a few days. On the advice of a GP, got some blood tests, and the blood tests showed that my kidneys had failed. Nothing wrong with the vaccines. I don't want to get the anti-vaxxers all excited, but we learned much later that I have a genetic mutation in my body which can cause a disease called atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome, or AHUS for short. I thought it was pretty cool to have a disease with such a fancy name, atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome. Kind of reminded me of the Rishikesh Mukherjee classic Anand, where Rajesh Khanna's character has a disease called lymphosarcoma of the intestine. Thankfully, my disease wasn't lethal like his was, but the name was no less fancy. Now, AHUS is an ultra-rare disease that can impact about 2 to 3 people per million across the world. AHUS can cause kidneys to fail. I was put on dialysis in a few days. I had to do this procedure thrice a week, 4 hours each time, where I would be lying on a bed, 2 needles in my arms, blood pumped out, passed through a machine, sent back to my body, basically replicating kidney function. Life became very uncertain. My friends were all landing in the US one by one and beginning their masters, and here I was, lying on a hospital bed, tethered to a machine that kept me alive. I never got upset or depressed though, because my doctors always said that this was a temporary condition, and in a few days my kidneys would recover, and I could get on that flight into the US and start my masters. But days turned to weeks, and weeks to months, and the kidneys were not showing any sign of recovery. I started becoming impatient, panicky even, and I asked my doctor, isn't there something we could do, some treatment, some procedure that would get the kidneys to start working? My doctor had no answers. I also tried several alternate therapies, from Ayurveda to homeopathy to Unani to acupressure to acupuncture. The acupuncture story was particularly interesting. So when the human kidneys don't work, the amount of urine humans put out reduces dramatically. From a normal of about 1.5 to 2 liters, it falls to a fraction of that. And my kidneys were barely working, so I was putting out barely a couple of 100 ml per day. The first indicator of the kidneys recovering due to alternate therapies or any other therapy was that the urine output would go up. So this acupuncture specialist we were referred to claimed that if I underwent 10 sessions of acupuncture with him, I would be peeing Ganga Jamuna, which is the rivers of urine. I wasn't aspiring to pee rivers of urine. I would be happy with 1.5 to 2 liters, thank you. I went through those 10 sessions. There was no sign of either Ganga or Jamuna. So 1 year went by, and my doctor comes to me one day and says, I think we need to move on now. We need to plan a kidney transplant. Now, a kidney transplant is where a kidney from a healthy individual is transplanted into the body of the patient. And hopefully, if everything goes well, both patient and the donor can lead completely normal lives. So I was excited. This seemed to be the right thing to do. My mother would donate. I would be free from needles, free from dialysis, redemption at last, the final solution. Got admitted into the hospital on the designated date. Next morning was wheeled into the operation theatre, knocked out by the general anesthesia, in the hope that when I came to, all these problems would be a thing of the past. However, the promised dawn never arrived. A few days after the kidney transplant, the transplanted kidney also started losing function. A biopsy revealed that my primary disease AHUS had recurred in the new kidney as well. We learned much later that with my genetic mutation, there's a 95% plus chance of recurrence of AHUS in the transplanted kidney as well. I was devastated. This was not how it was supposed to turn out. Very few young people actually get diagnosed with kidney failure, and those that do almost always have a successful kidney transplant. Why did mine fail? Was I condemned to leading a compromised life forever? I just became numb and went about my days aimlessly, not knowing what to do. A few weeks later though, I gathered myself and decided that I would not let this disease defeat me. I would fight back and regain control of my life. I got onto the internet and started looking for options. I read up everything I could about kidney failure and treatment options. And I found out about peritoneal dialysis, or PD, which was an alternate type of dialysis, could be done at home. They put a small catheter into your abdomen, and you had to do this procedure, 30-minute thing, 4 times a day. The only challenge was the entire responsibility of care would be in my hands. I had to do the procedures in a meticulous manner, keeping mind of the sterile techniques, and I had to do it in a timely manner. I wasn't too worried about being meticulous or timely, because over the years I've acquired quite the reputation for both. For instance, when I get up from my desk in the afternoon at work, people know it's 1 p.m. because I have my lunch every day at 1. My parents make sure that the dinner table is laid by 7:39 p.m. in the evening because I have my dinner at 7:40. I even go to the extent of setting a timer for 3 minutes 30 seconds for my tea to brew, because I like my tea just like that. So I thought keeping this background in mind, PD would be a piece of cake. I switched to PD in March 1999 and things turned out pretty well. My energy levels were back. I started working part-time. I started playing table tennis. I started traveling as well. For the next few years, things went smoothly. In December of 2004, with a few friends, I decided to go to the South Indian beach town of Mahabalipuram on a holiday. We were there on Christmas of 2004. The next morning, as we lazed around in our beach cottage, the infamous tsunami happened. We were neck deep in water. Several tourists in that resort were washed away and died. We had a miraculous escape though, but in that process, the catheter that was there in my stomach got infected. Over the next several months, the doctors tried desperately to save the catheter, antibiotics, procedures, and whatnot. But in the end, I had to give up PD. I was very upset because PD had given me my life back, and now I couldn't even do that. What was it with me and life, huh? Why couldn't I have an extended period of stability? Why did everything have to get messed up so badly? My doctor, sensing my agony, started looking for options and suggested one day that I switch to hemodialysis at home, which is the same dialysis modality I was doing in the early days of my diagnosis, but this time it would be done at home and it would be done over longer durations. These longer durations of the machine were supposed to give a good quality of life. I was wary at first. How could anybody do hemodialysis at home? What if there was a complication? How would it be taken care of? I got onto the internet and a lot of good things was being said about this therapy by patients in developed countries. So I bit the bullet, set up the infrastructure at home, got help from a technician and switched to this therapy in May 2006. And life turned out beautifully after that. I regained my energy levels, I started working full time, I started swimming every morning. Swimming became the best part of my day. Thankfully, after 17 years of starting that therapy, today also I continue to be on that therapy and it's given me a beautiful life. I started writing about my entire journey on a blog. I wrote about all the challenges I faced, how I overcame each one of them, and also more importantly, how individuals could lead normal lives despite being on dialysis. That blog became fairly popular, and over a period of time, if you Googled dialysis in India, my blog would come out right on top. One day, I received an email from somebody called Vikram Uppala, an individual I hadn't heard of or met before. He said he was looking to start something in healthcare. He had just returned to India from the US, and while researching his ideas, he stumbled upon my blog and was intrigued by what he read. We met up the next morning and started talking about the dialysis situation in India and the problems faced by patients. Over the next several conversations, the idea of a patient-centric dialysis center network called NephroPlus started taking shape, and we would put the patient right at the center of the universe. The central premise of the company was that if we gave good quality dialysis to our patients, they would get their life back. They would be able to work, travel, exercise, have fun, do everything that healthy individuals did. One important decision we took was that we would call our patients guests and not patients, because the word patient, we believed, has a negative connotation. You remember the question I asked in the beginning about what you thought when you heard the word dialysis patient? Frail, sick, bedridden. That is not how dialysis patients need to be. Dialysis patients can lead completely normal lives. So we set up the first the first center in 2010 March, and the patients loved our services. We added center after center. Our patients were really, really happy with the quality of dialysis they got, because for the first time in their lives, they were feeling very positive about themselves. Take Pooja, for instance. She's a 25-year-old HR consultant in Rohtak, in Haryana. She had her own HR consultancy business, and she had to shut that down because after getting onto dialysis, she just didn't have the energy nor the motivation to continue. She happened to move her house, and she realized that NephroPlus center was much closer to her than her previous center. So just because of that, she switched to this center. Within a few weeks, she started feeling much better, and 6 months after that, she restarted her HR consultancy business, which is flourishing even today. Another problem that we wanted to solve was that of the reluctance of dialysis patients to travel. Biswajit, for instance, is a 42-year-old dialysis patient in Hyderabad. Happily married and having 2 kids, the family always wanted to go out on a holiday, but they were very scared of the dialysis quality they would get in the destination center. NephroPlus started a holiday dialysis program where any dialysis patient inside or outside of NephroPlus could get good quality dialysis at the destination of their choice. When Biswajit got to know about this program, his entire family was thrilled. A few months back, he sent me this picture of him getting dialysis in our Kulu center, which is a 45-minute drive from the hill station of Manali. That was really heartwarming to see. Dialysis patients are also scared of playing a game or taking up a sport. While they feel fatigued and weak a lot of the time because of the poor quality of dialysis they get, they are also depressed and not motivated enough. This need not be true though. I swim every morning. And Maddie Warren, who's a dialysis patient in the UK, has done the London Marathon. But take Geeta, for instance, a 16-year-old dialysis patient in Delhi. After a shock diagnosis at a very young age, she had to give up her badminton, something that she really loved. While she managed to continue her schooling, the badminton time was something she sorely missed. Vikram came up with this idea of a dialysis Olympiad, which is an Olympic-style games event for dialysis patients. We would call all dialysis patients to a stadium in a city and hold competitions in events such as marathon, cycling, volleyball, basketball, badminton, table tennis, cricket, and so on. And at the end of the day, give them gold, silver, and bronze medals. That day is a life changer for many patients. You'll see hundreds of dialysis patients walking into the stadium, huge smiles on their face, determination in their hearts, ready to show the world and indeed to themselves that they have the will to win. Will to win is the theme of the Dialysis Olympiad. When Geeta got to know about the 4th edition of the Dialysis Olympiad we were holding in Delhi in March this year, she was excited. She started practicing her badminton, she started getting fit, and on the day of the Olympiad in March earlier this year, she got the silver medal in badminton. I've chronicled my entire journey in a book called Silver Lining, which was published earlier this year. I talk about my diagnosis to the birth of NephroPlus to where we are today in 4 countries, 200 plus locations, 325 dialysis centers, having served more than 250,000 dialysis patients to date, and having raised 5 rounds of private equity funding. All thanks to the single-minded focus on quality. Today, after 26 years on dialysis, I lead a completely normal life. I believe I don't like to sit idle. I need to extract every bit of juice from life. After putting in a full week of work at NephroPlus, I bake sourdough breads on weekends. I've recently been certified as a hemodialysis technician. I learn Portuguese when I'm free. I also teach kids of my community Jain philosophy on weekends. And I'm crazy about food. I would go any distance to grab a good idli. In fact, some of my colleagues at NephroPlus, they suspect that we started our Ongole center just because there's a fantastic idli place there called Mastar Idli. There's no truth to that, however. I believe I've been blessed with an immense amount of good fortune to be able to impact thousands of dialysis patients through my journey because of NephroPlus. Life handed me a raw deal very early on, but I believe I've not done too badly for myself. At several stages I faced obstacles, but I was clear every time that I would find a way out, and I did every single time. All of us face adversity in some form or manner at some point in our lives. Be it a chronic condition like I did, a messy divorce, a job loss, failure in business, even the death of a loved one. But all of us have it within to fight back and regain control of our lives. All it takes is a genuine desire to recover. After all, if a dialysis patient can set up a dialysis company that became Asia's largest and set up the world's largest dialysis center, anything should be possible. Thank you.